Broadcasting live from the Albay PIO News Center, providing you the most exclusive news update from all over the province. This is News at 12. In the local scene, the Sangguniang Panlalawigan ng Albay is urging all local government units to provide emergency go bags to vulnerable residents as part of disaster preparedness efforts. The measure, authored by Attorney Sheena Marie Onrubia de la Cruz, aims to strengthen community resilience through proactive prevention and preparedness. Go bags should contain food, water, medicines, flashlights, hygiene items, and important documents to sustain families for 72 hours during a disaster. The initiative targets indigent families, senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and those in hazard-prone areas. It may also be implemented in partnership with the Albay Public Safety and Emergency Management Office and the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. In other story, the provincial government of Albay has launched a workshop integrating biosphere reserve concepts into the school curriculum. The two-day activity, organized by the Provincial Tourism, Culture and Arts Office and the Albay Biosphere Reserve Management Council, is held in partnership with the Department of Education. Teachers and curriculum writers are developing lesson materials that highlight Albay's natural wealth, culture, and sustainable practices. The goal is to inspire students to value nature, cultural identity, and community resilience. Discussions continue with the presentation of draft lessons and activities promoting Albay's commitment to sustainability. In other news, the provincial government of Albay, through the Provincial Education Department, has distributed educational assistance to students and parents in the municipalities of Jovillar and Ginubatan. The students expressed gratitude, saying that the support helped cover school expenses, including thesis fees, a relief felt by many beneficiaries. The program helped ease the financial challenges faced by families and ensures that education remains within reach for students. About 60% of the beneficiaries are women, underscoring the program's role in promoting inclusive access to education and future employment opportunities. Through this initiative, the provincial government of Albay continues to build a literate, productive, and progressive society. Under the leadership of Governor Noel E. Rizal, the provincial government remains committed to bringing essential programs and services closer to every barangay. In the national scene, the Philippine Navy has raised alarms over China's increasingly aggressive actions in the West Philippine Sea, calling them illegal, coercive, and dangerous. Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, the Navy's spokesperson for the region, said China is using tactics that blur the line between legal and illegal operations to confuse and undermine the Philippines' maritime efforts. He noted a shift from so-called gray zone tactics to more overt coercion, including deliberate damage to Philippine vessels, not enough to sink them, but enough to disrupt patrols. Trinidad warned that such actions are part of a broader strategy to degrade the country's ability to operate in the area and gradually normalize China's dominance. He called for urgent defense modernization to counter the threat. Trinidad also stressed that this form of psychological and operational warfare is intended to normalize China's dominance in the region, gradually pressuring the Philippines to retreat from its maritime presence. In other story, Public Works Secretary Vincent Dizon said A significant number of officials and employees at the Department of Public Works and Highways are said to be dismissed as the agency intensifies its probe into irregular flood control projects. Deason said the ongoing internal investigation has uncovered widespread anomalies, prompting the need to remove personnel from top to bottom. He emphasized that reforms must begin within the agency itself, citing guidance from former DPWA Secretaries Rogelio Singson and Ping Jesus. Several regional directors and district engineers have already been issued show-cause orders due to their alleged involvement in substandard infrastructure projects, tampering with official records and maintaining lifestyles disproportionate to their income. The projects flagged for irregularities were inspected by either Deason or the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, while others were brought to the attention of the new DPWA's leadership through internal reports. In September, DPWH filed criminal charges against 20 officials from the Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office for allegedly approving payments for incomplete or non-existent projects. The group faces charges of graft, malversation, and violations of the Government Procurement Reform Act. The department's leadership has previously identified entrenched corruption and multi-billion peso syndicates as key issues that must be addressed to ensure transparency and efficiency in public infrastructure development. In other news, the Supreme Court has institutionalized electronic and regionalized bar examinations as the new standard mode of admission to the legal profession. In a statement released on Friday, the High Tribunal said the court en banc approved the 2025 proposed amendments to Rule 138 of the Rules of Court through a resolution dated August 12, 2025. The revision were the result of a said intensive study done by the Subcommittee on the Admission to the Bar, chaired by Associate Justice Ramon Paul Hernando. Under the amended rules, the bar examinations will now be conducted electronically using a secure and reliable digital assessment platform, according to the Supreme Court. The test will be administered in English and will be uniform for all examinees nationwide. The Supreme Court emphasized that examinees must answer the questions personally, although the bar chairperson may issue specific guidelines for candidates with special needs. According to the court, the updated rules aim to promote inclusiveness, fairness, and non-discrimination while ensuring the integrity, efficiency, and technology-driven administration of the bar examinations. And in the news outside the country, aid trucks entered Gaza as Israel prepared to reopen the main Rafah crossing following a tense dispute with Hamas over the return of deceased hostages' bodies. The disagreement had threatened to unravel the fragile ceasefire that had paused 2 years of intense fighting in the Palestinian enclave and secured the release of all living hostages. Israel had warned it might keep the crossing closed and limit aid shipments, accusing Hamas of returning the bodies too slowly. After Hamas handed over several Israeli bodies overnight and 2 more coffins on Wednesday, Israeli officials announced preparations to reopen Rafah to Gazan civilians, with plans to allow 600 aid trucks into the territory. In a show of continued pressure on Hamas, U.S. President Donald Trump said he would consider allowing Israeli forces to resume military operations in Gaza if the militant group fails to uphold the terms of the ceasefire deal he brokered. The ceasefire remains precarious, with both sides navigating a complex path to maintain peace. The steady flow of humanitarian aid and cooperation over the sensitive issues like the return of hostages remains will be critical to preventing a return to violence and addressing the urgent needs of Gaza's population. In other story, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House to request long-range missiles to support Ukraine's fight against Russia. Trump, however, focused on ending the war through negotiations and expressed reluctance to provide advanced weapons, citing concerns about escalation and maintaining U.S. defense capabilities. Zelensky acknowledged hesitation and said he remained realistic about the chances of receiving additional military aid. The meeting came as Russia stepped up its attacks, including a major drone and missile strike on Kiev, further straining Ukraine's military across multiple fronts. Analysts believe Russia may be using diplomatic overtures to stall Western support. Ukrainian experts argue that weapons like Tomahawks are essential to counter Russia's advantage on the battlefield. The future of diplomacy remains uncertain as Ukraine continues to seek stronger backing and the U.S. weighs the risks of deeper involvement. And finally, in the news outside the country, the International Criminal Court has ordered a medical examination of former President Rodrigo Duterte to determine if he is fit to stand trial for alleged crimes against humanity during his presidency. The pre-trial Chamber 1 appointed a 3-member panel of experts in forensic psychiatry, neuropsychology, and geriatric neurology to assess Duterte's ability to understand the charges and participate in his defense. The panel's task is to determine if Duterte can understand the charges, the evidence, and the proceedings, and if he can effectively instruct his legal counsel. The order followed a defense request on August 18, 2025 to delay proceedings due to Duterte's health. The ICC had previously postponed the confirmation of charges hearing until further notice and instructed the registry to provide a short list of qualified medical professionals. The panel's report is due by October 31, 2025. The prosecutor, defense, and victims' counsel may submit responses by November 5. The judges noted these medical findings will guide their decision on Duterte's capacity to take part in the trial. And that's all for the news at 12, October 20, 2025. We'll be back tomorrow for more news updates. Thanks to our news writer, Albay PIO and Naomi Ruth Hernandez. And on the technical side, Chad Bobis. And our Provincial Information Officer OIC, Marty Gonzalez. And under the supervision of our Governor, Noel E. Rizal, I am Greg Hallare. Thank you for subscribing.